I should have burned the files the moment I read them. I should have walked away, pretended I never saw the photographs, never smelled the rot seeping from those crime scenes, but I didn't. And now, I can't close my eyes without seeing their faces. It started 6 months ago, a series of disappearances no one wanted to talk about. Men, women, even a teenager. At first, it looked like runaways, maybe domestic disputes gone wrong. But then the bodies started showing up, if you could still call them bodies. The first one was found in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. When I arrived, the stench hit me before I even stepped inside. It wasn't just the smell of decay, it was sweet, almost chemical, like rotting flesh mixed with burnt rubber. I followed it through the dark corridor until I found her, or what was left of her. She was sitting upright in a chair, her hands tied with wire, her head tilted slightly, as if someone had posed her. But her face, God, her face was gone, not mutilated, not destroyed, removed, perfectly, surgically, as if someone had peeled it off in a single piece. On the floor, in front of her, lay something that still haunts me, a mask. Human skin, crudely stitched along the edges, shaped into the exact expression she must have had at the moment she died. Mouth open in a silent scream. That was the moment I knew we weren't dealing with a typical killer. This wasn't about bloodlust. This was about collecting, preserving. Over the next weeks, more bodies surfaced, each one missing its face, each crime scene arranged like a grotesque stage, and always a mask left behind, carefully placed, as if waiting for me to find it. The press never got the details. The department kept it quiet, called it an ongoing investigation. But I knew better. Whoever he was, he wanted an audience. He wanted me. At night, I started hearing things in my apartment. A creak on the floorboards, the sound of breathing when I turned off the lights. I told myself it was stress, exhaustion, but deep down I knew he was watching me. One evening, I returned home and found an envelope slipped under my door. Inside was a single photograph, me, walking into the precinct that morning. My face had been circled in red ink, and written across the bottom were 3 words that made my blood run cold. You wear next. After that photograph, I stopped sleeping. Every creak in the walls, every shadow shifting in the corner of my vision felt like him. I kept my gun close, sometimes even slept with it in my hand. But deep inside, I knew a bullet wouldn't save me. This wasn't just a killer, it was something else, something patient. The investigation became an obsession. I combed through the crime scenes again and again, looking for something I'd missed. Patterns emerged. Each victim lived alone. Each one had recently reported something strange, a break-in, missing clothes, windows left open at night, and each one had been seen, just days before their death, talking to someone who looked eerily familiar. That detail gnawed at me until I couldn't ignore it anymore. Witnesses always said the same thing. He looked just like them. At first, I thought they meant resemblance, a trick of memory, but the more I dug, the clearer it became. The killer wasn't just stealing faces, he was wearing them. The idea made my skin crawl. I imagined him walking the streets with their faces stretched across his skull, the expressions frozen in those final moments of terror. How many times had I brushed past him without knowing? How many times had I spoken to him, thinking he was someone else? One night, I got a call from dispatch. A neighbor had reported screams coming from an old apartment building downtown. I knew before I even arrived that it was him. The hallways smelled of mold and copper, the kind of dampness that seeps into your clothes. My flashlight beam caught stains along the walls, dark, smeared handprints dragging downward. When I reached the unit, the door was already open. Inside, the air was suffocating. Plastic sheets covered the floor, sticky with blood. And there, hanging from hooks along the wall, were faces. Dozens of them, smiling, crying, screaming, all preserved in grotesque detail. The room looked like a theater, and I was standing in the front row. Then I heard it. Slow, deliberate footsteps behind me. I spun around, gun raised, but the hallway was empty. The air shifted, colder, heavier, like someone was standing right next to me. That's when I saw the mirror. It was leaning against the far wall, cracked and filthy. And in its reflection, I saw myself. Only it wasn't me, not exactly. My own reflection was smiling, skin stitched crudely at the edges, eyes hollow and dark. My hand trembled, the gun nearly slipping from my grip. A whisper crawled into my ear, so close it felt like breath on my neck. Which mask will you choose? I fired, shattering the mirror into 100 shards. But the whisper didn't stop. It was everywhere now, circling me, mocking me. I stumbled out of that apartment with nothing but bile in my throat and the sinking realization that he had let me go on purpose. He could have killed me that night, but he didn't. Because he wants me afraid. He wants me waiting. And worst of all, he wants me ready. The days after that encounter blurred into each other. I stopped going home. I stopped answering calls from the department. I lived out of my car, parked in different places every night, waiting for him to make his move. But he didn't. Instead, he let the silence rot me from the inside. Every reflection I passed, windows, mirrors, even puddles, seemed to twist, the faces staring back at me not my own. Sometimes I'd see my lips curling into a grin I didn't make. Sometimes I'd see stitches along my cheeks. I stopped trusting my own reflection. Then, 3 weeks later, the call came. A warehouse near the river, same place the first body was found. A tip, no caller ID. My gut told me it was him. And yet I drove there anyway. Maybe it was duty, maybe it was desperation, or maybe I needed to know how it ended. The warehouse was silent, the air thick with mildew and rust. I moved carefully, my flashlight cutting through the dark. The beam landed on something in the center of the room, a chair, and on it a mask. Not just any mask, mine. It was my face down to the smallest scar on my jaw, but it was wrong. The skin looked pale, drained, lips stretched too wide, eyes hollowed out. My stomach lurched as I realized this was no crude imitation. It was real. My own face, somehow already taken, a voice echoed from the shadows, calm and almost playful. "I told you, you wear next." I spun around, gun drawn. And then I saw him. He stepped into the light, wearing a mask that shifted in the dim glow. First, the face of the woman from the warehouse, then the teenager, then a man I'd never seen before. Each face blinked, twisted, and vanished, replaced by another, until finally he was wearing me. I froze. It wasn't just that he looked like me, he was me. Every detail, every movement. When he smiled, I felt my own lips twitch against my will, like he was pulling invisible strings. I fired. Once, twice, 3 times. Bullets tore through his chest, but he didn't fall. He just laughed, a sound that rattled my bones. "Do you see now?" he whispered, voice identical to mine. "You can't kill me, because I'm already inside you." The lights flickered, and in that strobe of shadow and brightness, I saw the walls lined with masks. Hundreds of them, and in the center, an empty space, waiting. My space. The last thing I remember is the cold hands on my face, the sensation of skin peeling, the sound of stitches pulling tight. I screamed, but the scream wasn't mine. It came from the mask in his hand. Now I sit in the dark, waiting. I can't feel my face anymore. I can't even remember what it looked like. All I hear is his voice, whispering over and over. Every mask tells a story, and now, so will you.
Subscribe to Horror Story Bar.